Can you really go for the back this time?
I can. Do you think I've been holding back on the back?
Watch this. No way.
Hello and welcome back to the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast. I am Tom Mills, and today I'm joined by Sam Williams.
That's the most outrageous back I've ever heard. You really, a lot of our listeners have said you've dropped back the intensity there. So, well done, mate. No. Like the intro.
And King and Knight of the Realm, Sir Bruce Fitzpatrick.
Oh no, redo it. Redo it. I'm putting my foot down. I'm not standing for this anymore.
Okay, well, next time. I've done it now, so we'll fix it next time. As always, guys, you can get in touch with us on @CookieJarGolf on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And don't hop across to YouTube because there is nothing there. We are out of Scotland films. There's nothing left to see unless you want to watch the entire back catalogue of everything we've ever done, which in which case you could just go ahead and do it. Bump our numbers up.
Chamber won't be dry for too long, though, will it?
Yeah.
You've emptied your clip.
I know. We just need to get out and play some golf. It's just hard.
We might have to do a lockdown living room series or something like that. Get creative.
Yeah. Putting tips with the night.
We'll drop the Sir Bruce reference.
Yeah, we'll drop the We'll officially bury it. I'll put it in the grave today. I apologise. It's gone.
Fantastic.
Chaps, should we start with Saudi?
Yeah, absolutely. That seems like the logical place to start.
So how much of it did you get to see, first of all?
If I'm honest, not loads. I was quite heavily dialed in on the Phoenix, caught probably an hour or two each day. I picked up the coverage, or every golf hole looked the same. I couldn't quite tell by the end. But
Royal Green's not on your bucket list of courses to play.
No, I know. And Saudi's not really on the top of my travel itinerary either, if I'm honest. Our regular listeners will know I'm itching to go and play golf in Holland as the next available opportunity. But yeah, like it always had the air of a DJ victory lap for the last 2 days, didn't it? And I think maybe when you know it's like that, maybe you just don't have the same incentive to kind of tune in.
But it wasn't actually that much of a runaway victory, really, in the end at all, was it? It was two. What was it? A 2-shot margin, and I kind of felt like DJ won with like his B- game, maybe.
Well, I'll throw some stats your way about this because, yeah, I would say he looked like he did it with his B- game. It was a victory lap because tee to green, strokes gained, he was first. Well, you'd expect that because he won. He was third, strokes gained, green and regs. He was third, stroke gained, driving. He was 92nd in putting.
Really?
I mean, that's
surprising.
Atrocious. That's the bottom third of the field.
But then, you know, when you put in every approach shot to 8 feet, I suppose you can afford to not pick up your fair share of draining them, can't you? It was a biblical display of ball striking, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, you say that. I actually just love the kind of composure and the swagger more than anything. And the shot that stuck out to me was when he fatted that 3-iron into the par 5 on the Saturday, and it went all of about 130 yards, and then knocked a sand wedge into like 5 feet and rolled it in for birdie. And it was just like, that is so impressive to watch. And if we could all just take some of that to our own games, how much better would we play, and B, how much more enjoyable would the sport be? But he's just such a cool customer, isn't he?
I remember at I think it was the US Open at Wingfoot maybe, that he shanked a chip from like just off the green, and then he's like looking around, he just rocks up to the next chip and sticks to about 6 inches and just taps in and is like, there we go. It's just
an incredible mentality for the game because he just, like you say, he just rolls with the punches. He walks with an air of, arrogance that's pretty intimidating. I can imagine to be playing against him because, he's got the game to back it up. But he just seems, unflappable. That there's a couple of just little things that stand out here. So he's 4th win now in his last 8 worldwide starts, and don't forget, Finau came 2nd. Like watching these guys, even watching last night on Phoenix. I know we're going to talk about it, but winning. I can't relate to it. Winning is bloody hard at that level, isn't it? Like it's clearly so hard. So to win 4 out of your last 8 is insane. in Saudi, so Justin Ray came out with this one. He's come first, second, and first. So that means in the last 3 years, there's 399 golfers that have teed it up at Saudi. Only GMAC out of those 399 has beaten him. In 3 years. That's nuts.
Here's a stat for you. Cabrera Bello finished tied 33rd and went 69, 69, 69, 69. So 4 rounds in the 60s, and he's tied 33rd. I mean, it's hard. It's hard.
It's only one under though. I mean, to be fair, it's past 17. That is only one under.
But it's hard to win, isn't it? Like most people will never shoot around in their 60s in their entire life. You know, it's tough.
Slightly different comparison, though, isn't it? To be fair, Mills. I mean, I mean, I granted, Cabrera is not world top 5, is he? But he's finishing there. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's quite the same comparison with your sort of club level golf. But
I mean, just to go back on a point you made there, though, Sam, you saying he almost has this air of arrogance about him. I actually don't get that impression at all. When I look at him, he almost looks like he's got the best of all worlds, really. He seems like someone who'd be pretty enjoyable to play with. I mean, he's lightning fast with his long game. Obviously takes a fair bit of time on the greens, with Austin doing aim point, and they're very deliberate. But he's really quick to play with. He just kind of swaggers around, not getting too kind of intense. He's not like a Koepka where he's very outspoken or brutally curt in some of his interviews. In fact, I think when Koepka took dead aim at DJ back at the PGA at Harding Park last August or September, whenever it was, DJ just kind of shrugged it off and didn't really want to be drawn on the controversy. He actually just seems like someone who would be really kind of enjoyable and laid back to play with, but is also, so kind of confident within himself. It doesn't really come across as arrogant.
And a nice little touch of emotion as well when you run the Masters. For the guy who, like you say, seems ice cold, and then clearly that meant a lot to him. I think people are really, maybe this side of the pond, really sort of like warming to DJ, aren't they? So,
yeah. Well, I tell you what, he's a breath of fresh air when it comes to speed of play, and certainly for the world number one. I think I saw this clip on Twitter where he was stood over his shot, and him and Austin were talking, and it's like 7-iron. At that tower, okay. And from the moment he says okay, and he starts to address the ball, he's 9 seconds before the ball is hit, and it's like that stood over the ball, practice swing, bang, done. And it's he does take an age on the greens, but
makes up for it elsewhere.
Yeah, but
we asked some questions about Finau. Why is he always the also ran? Like, I know it's starting to build a picture here, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, he's scared of winning a golf tournament.
I disagree. I mean, I can't. You can't bag the dude for constantly being good. He's constantly top 10. He's very often runner up. Like if he was finishing 50th, you wouldn't be mentioning the dude and saying he can't win or he can't get over the line. Like
okay, but how many wins has he had in his professional career? If you were to hazard a guess,
one, I believe.
It was one, isn't it? Puerto Rico.
One
Open.
on the PGA Tour. One on the PGA and one on the web.com, which is bizarre. Like, by all accounts, the guy who is a top 10 player in the world, or certainly has been a top 10 player in the world, I think, to not win. I mean, you're maybe going to go on a little statistical rant here and talk about regression to mean and a load of other irrelevant terms, Mills. But I think the reality is, hang on. I think the reality is with Finau, like when someone is consistently finishing in the top 10 or even as high as second place and not getting it across the line for the win, there has to be something else going on there, psychologically that is holding him back. Has to be.
I concur completely. Like once or twice, it's okay. Like we're probably going to talk about Schauffele at some point, who's in exactly the same position, but there's a lower sample size. Finau, it's now starting to become really obvious. Maybe he's just getting a draw where that the people he's teeing it up next to just happen to be playing better than him that week. But it can't be like the guy's got to start winning events, otherwise he's just going to become the kind of best also ran on tour, isn't he? Which is a shame because the guy looks insanely good. Like he would be, you'd like to think he'd be in the frame for a Ryder Cup pick for sure.
Oh yeah. There's no reason why not. But it's just not.
Golf he doesn't have that clinical edge, which is
I think that for a Ryder Cup, I would be the opposite to that. I think you cannot pick Tony Finau for a Ryder Cup. If he can't get over the line in a tournament, what chance has he got when it's match play?
It's a different game for a kickoff. Yeah,
match
play
golf. For match play, that complete.
That's a ridiculous
win or die. No, it's not. Match play is like win or die. You have to win at all costs. Doesn't matter. Win ugly, win good. You have to win. And he's not a winner. That's what you guys are saying. So why would you pick him for a Ryder Cup team?
Yeah, but it's different when in a Ryder Cup match, like what you have to do is there in front of you. It's in the group. You have like you're right next to it. You're there in the thick of the action. You know exactly what you have to do to win. Stroke play is a different beast in that there are roars going up from all over the course. Maybe not now, I guess, in a COVID world, but there's far more uncertainty in it. And stroke play is just a different game. Like if you had a bad hole in match play, it's just one hole. If you have a bad hole in stroke play, it's like, you're out the tournament. And I don't necessarily think the comparison with Schauffele is fair either, Sam. Like Schauffele's picked up probably 4 wins or so. He's picked up an HSBC win as well, WGC, I should say. So it's not. I don't think that's necessarily a fair comparison. And actually, going back to it, golf is an inherently inconsistent game. Like, the studies have been done. It's obvious for all to see that if you have a really inconsistent week that's very, very good, in that sense, you're going out and shooting 61, 63, 65, 68 or whatever, which is a long way away from your average score. That is brilliant. That's much better than just going and shooting 70 all the time or 69 all the time. To go 63, 65, 68, 65 or whatever is, and then the next week blow out and shoot a couple of rounds in the 80 and miss the cut, you'll do much better in that respect than you would just going and shooting high 60s all the time. Well, you're not going to win events doing that.
But that's my point. He's consistently very good. He's not streaky. He's not often poor. He's rarely exceptional. He never really steps up and goes mega low. But why are we bagging him for that?
Second, but it's winning. I think winning is the separating
why
factor here, isn't it? Like, well, I don't know. I mean, to Bruce, you talk about Schauffele. We're not.
We just want him to win, don't we? We'd like to see him win. It's fundamentally what we're saying. I'd love to see
if he was winning every time he came second, you'd be going, Jesus Christ, this guy's the best golfer on the planet. Like, he's winning more than anybody else out there winning. The fact that one person in the field, which alternates on a weekly basis, seems to pip him by a shot or two, we're now bagging the guy. It is a strange optic, I'll give you that. Schauffele, to come back on that, Bruce, he's 0 for 4 in the PGA with 54 hole leads. So 4 times he stood up on the first tee on a Sunday with the lead in hand and not got it done. I think that's a factor. And he's got the most runner-up finishes on tour of any player in the last 3 or 4 years.
Schauffele?
So, yeah.
He's also very, very young. He's only been on tour for like 3 or 4 years.
And he also likes wine and fashion, and he comes from an athletic family, and his father instilled in him.
How bad was that? Oh, my word. The FedEx file. We're jumping around, though. Let's get back to Saudi.
Yeah, let's stay on Saudi for a bit, because we'll move on to what happened in Phoenix in a moment. Just before we move on from Finau, I just want to throw this one out to you boys. Obviously, I've been quite open in the fact that I don't know Tony Finau. I mean, if he wants to be my friend, I'm not going to say no. Seems like a great guy. But he's obviously not competing on the PGA this week. I didn't compete on the PGA this week. He has had 8 events so far in this 2020-2021 season. And he's made $1.6 million, and he's 19th on the FedEx. At what point do you think he sits back and thinks, actually, I'm doing okay. I'm making a Bitcoin here. Like, I don't really care that I don't win. I'm just consistently earning lots and lots of money. Do you think that's
I don't think that's how any of the players out there treat it, because they're all earning serious coin. Like, they are earning crazy amounts. Xander's on 20 million career earnings. He would want to win rather than you reach a point of where it becomes immaterial, doesn't it? Finau's got to be doing fine for himself now. He would want the win.
He's doing okay, yeah.
He's got to be doing fine. You know what it is? There can't be. These guys aren't at that level, world top 50, when they're consistently playing well, I guarantee you none of them are playing for purses. And we've given a few examples, haven't we? I think was fairly recently where we were talking about the difference between kind of a good back nine and what that meant in some of the take home prizes. But that's people who are like down the sort of 250th world rankings, where they're that's going to be 80% of their annual earnings perhaps in terms of prize money. Finau's not in that world. Like, he wants a win. These boys want to win.
Was that a trap that you've just deliberately set there, Mills? Because I feel there's a little undercurrent there, which is begging the obvious question, well, why are these blokes going to Saudi Arabia to play golf? It's because they're getting paid massive appearance fees.
Oh, really, very clever.
In all likelihood, isn't it? I don't know whether Sam's just walked straight into that, which I nearly did as well.
Yeah,
but
yeah, good point.
The prize fund. The prize fund isn't enormous. So
it's crap, in comparison.
DJ picked up 475,000 euros, which he probably had to pay that dude for striking him on the head with a drive. So he's not picking up a huge amount of money for winning. So why are they going?
Yeah, it's all very opaque, isn't it? But the best guess is that he's getting somewhere in the region of $1 to $3 million just as an appearance fee, isn't it? I think, from what I've read online, I'm happy to be corrected, but I think somewhere in the region of $1 to $3 million as an appearance fee. And I guess that's being paid to a handful of players, or again, it's very opaque. We have no way of knowing. But then it actually just becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling thing, because by getting some of the best players in the world there, you're then massively increasing the strength of field. And so the world ranking points on offer go up as well. So it's quite clever in that respect. You don't need to go and shell out appearance money for loads of people. If you just do it for the best in the world, the world number one DJ, obviously Finau's highly ranked, Patrick Reed's highly ranked, Kevin Na was there as well, which I thought was surprising.
Oh, he had the best moment of the day. Did you see Kevin Na's bunker shot in the third round?
I didn't know.
He takes his bunker shot. First one's plugged, absolutely plugged, and they rolls back into the middle of the bunker. Nothing he could do about it. Second one, he plays a shot and it flies the green over the top. And he stands there, he's looking at his club and he's pointing down. He's going, there's a rock. There was a rock in between the club face and the ball. There was a rock there. And his playing partner's like, okay, golf. He said, no. Called the referee over, because the referee comes over. Ref, there must have been like a rock in between my club face and the ball. What are you going to do? And the referee said, going, nothing. You played the shot. It was so ridiculous.
That's 2 years on the spin. We've had tantrums in the sand.
Oh yeah, with Serge.
Was it last year? I thought it was a couple of years ago that Serge
last year got
DQ'd. Yeah.
Anyway,
funny.
Sorry for interrupting you, Bruce, but I had to mention that. Kevin,
some acknowledge from you there, Mills. Like it.
But okay, just going, the final point on Saudi. What are our thoughts on just the overall optics of it? Not just the appearance fees and maybe the political element that wasn't given the treatment that it has been in the past in the press. And also just what does it say about the European Tour, do we think, if you're getting, US or PGA Tour regulars, because you could include Hovland in that category, even though he's not an American. What does it say when those guys come over and do really well and they're jet lagged, and in DJ's case just cleans up? Is that good for the European Tour, or is it foreboding? What are your thoughts?
I think that whole swing's interesting. Like Ronan Rafferty's words ringing in my ears still from last week. And hearing him talking about the European Tour was like a traveling circus and would go on a train and it was all over Europe. And he's talking about things like the Jersey Open and, playing out in Cransur and that being a real feature of the thing. And you're thinking, well, the European Tour this year has really circled around. It ends in Dubai, I think. Is it Dubai or Abu Dhabi? It ends. Then it picks up again in earnest. Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Saudi swing. Then it seems to essentially finish. We get back there for the next event now. It's going to be it's the Qatar Masters. That's March, second week of March. So I think you look at it and think, I get they need investment to attract the world's best in these players, but there's a balancing act here. And I don't think it's a I don't think it's a massive kind of advert really for the European Tour. It just looks like, guns for hire. How does it feel having DJ in the field? And then, well, okay, I can't really speak on behalf of those guys. Clearly they're going to feel like, it's disappointing. But then to your point, Roost, it's bringing with it so many more world ranking points that it increases the opportunity. So Callum Hill this week has had a great week at it, hasn't he? And that's had a massive impact now on his world rankings as a direct result of DJ and Finau and these boys playing.
That eagle from Callum Hill, by the way, across the green, if he'd have two-putt that and made a birdie, he would be 50 grand worse off. There's a nice one for you. So that eagle was worth 50 grand. No, but to go on to that, and I've got a nice little bit of knowledge for you both to talk about. And I think it's an interesting one because...
I love modesty.
Yeah,
well, I'm a modest
You haven't
dude.
picked this up at all, have you, Tom?
The next purse in the European Tour that is over 1.5 million euros is on the 12th of May, and that's the British Masters. If you want to wait till the next purse over 1.5 million euros, you've got to wait till the 1st of July for the Irish Open. So basically, we are now waiting 5 months before there's any purse pretty much of any significance on the European
just to clarify,
Tour.
That's just to clarify though, when you say a purse of 1.5 million, that's split between everyone who makes the cut, and that is still bugger all compared to the US. The US Tour
bucks minimum.
It's about 7 to 8 because I looked it up. It's about $7 to $8 million on the US PGA Tour.
The next 10 events. So I've taken out WGCs and I've taken out majors. The next 10 events on the PGA Tour are 7.8 mil. 9.3, 3.0, 9.3, 15 mil, that's the players, 7.3, 7.7, 7.1, 7.4. So you can't blame Tommy Fleetwood or Tyrrell Hatton for up sticks now and say, well, they can't afford to stay in the European Tour and just knock it round for that sort of money. They have to go over to America.
I never thought I'd say this. If you'd have asked me a few months ago, I actually am becoming increasingly in favour of a global tour that's probably headed the PGA Tour. It's the most likely outcome, I guess. And then just do away with the European Tour or essentially merge it with the Challenge Tour and make it a European feeder tour, essentially like the Corn Ferry, where you've got more chance of playing on decent courses with half decent prize funds and then allowing it to filter back down. Because at the moment, it's just in a halfway house between the Corn Ferry and the PGA. And, I think, the Japan Golf Tour is known for being a great place to kind of earn your stripes and develop your game as an aspiring professional. They're treated very well. The pay packages are definitely reasonable. And I just think that's the sensible option really for the European Tour. Is it should probably negotiate for a position like that while it still can. Get some incredible events that are part of the PGA Tour, the likes of Wentworth, the PGA, the BMW PGA, I guess, the Scottish Open, maybe an Irish Open, maybe an event at Valderrama. There's loads to go on, and just make it more of a global tour that allows the feeder tours and the young aspiring pros to be better supported.
I agree. I agree. I think it's a great, and at the moment, it's probably the easy out is just take the Middle Eastern money because that's going to prop up the fields. That's going to keep the prize purse. That's going to give them something to play for, and it allows it to kind of get a bit more broadcasting time. I think it's one we can probably dive into deeper, and we'll probably go through the through the Rolodex and see if we got someone who might be willing to talk about it as well. But it's an interesting one. I'd be keen to see how this stuff seems to move quite quickly as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if something happens in the next year or two on some of this stuff. You can already see it now. The PGA are saying they're going to move events around the world a little bit more. Clearly, the seat they've got on the European Tour board, it's going to start to have a pretty quick impact. They won't have done that and just sit with that laying dormant for the best part of a year, will they? So something's going to be afoot for sure.
And some of the feedback is from US players who've gone over to Europe or gone over to Australasia or played in Asia is that there are some fantastic courses out there. I mean, the feedback on the President's Cup, the most recent one at Royal Melbourne, like half, or more than half, pretty much every player on the US team was like, oh my Lord, that is like the best golf course I've ever played. And I genuinely think people say, oh, they wouldn't want to travel. Well, the reality is, you know, the star-studded talent, the top kind of 50 players in the world, I guess, around that mark, are all based in Florida. And I can't imagine, I mean, someone's going to call me out on my horrendous geography, but I can't imagine it's a huge difference in terms of flight time from, say, Florida to Western Europe versus Florida to the West Coast of America. So you're not losing out massive amounts of time there. You know, there's a great history of the game, obviously, with the links courses of the UK, fantastic courses all over Western Europe. I mean, if I had it my way, you'd get rid of the PGA Championship as a major and do a major on the Melbourne Sandbelt, which is another kind of course that is, you know, very distinct and hugely celebrated. I just think, yeah, the time is ripe now. COVID's almost brought a bit of a reset, and the time is ripe for like a fresh way of thinking about the future of professional golf.
I'm with you. I mean, like, if you'd have asked me last year about the World Golf League or whatever that was being proposed, I was like, nah, it's insanity. But I think I can't remember. Maybe I just didn't know as much, but I can't remember the purses in Europe being so weak. And I wonder whether COVID just had a big hit on it. And
yeah,
it's only going to increase the difference between players wanting to be in Europe and the players wanting to be in America. And I mean, some of those American courses are dross, where they just take them there because it's got the potential to put the stadia and do whatever they need to do. And yeah, it's got to be shared around, hasn't it? But while we are talking about the PGA, probably one of the most exciting tournaments has been in a while. It's just finished.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone's eyes were on Spieth. I think everyone was just longing for Spieth to really put a dreadful couple of years behind him and get that comeback win. And it was a comeback win for Koepka instead that no one was really anticipating. He just kind of, as he always does, flies under the radar.
Let's just run a clip on when what Bruce declared last week.
Similar in a way to maybe Brooks Koepka, who has also made headlines this week because I think it's the first time in his professional career that he's missed 3 consecutive cuts.
Yeah, I mean, you're more of a
He's quite chippy though, isn't he, as a player, and does well when he feels like he's got a point.
He likes a bit of controversy, like you say. He likes to point to sort of prove a point, to use your expression. But you follow the swing stuff in a lot of detail, and the coach and the stuff that they're working on, and obviously the nature of an injury.
I've not followed it as closely as I perhaps normally would. I think though the impression I get is he feels like he's fully fit, really, but he's just not. Yeah, he's just. He
looks like a shadow of his former self, though, doesn't he? Really.
I don't know if I declared anything there. I think it was more just about, questioning why his form was bad.
You wrote him off.
I said he looked like a shadow of his former self. I think.
And that's not right.
But it's interesting.
No,
because I didn't say his golf game was in terminal decline, did I? Which is the kind of hyperbole that you're well known for, Sam. Just writing someone off for the
PGA Tour players off one at a time
till the end of time as well. Yeah, saying pack the sticks in. I definitely didn't do a Brandel Chambly kind of take on Tiger Woods circa 2015-16. There was nothing like that, but I did think it was interesting. I don't know what you guys thought of like how shockingly curt, like painfully so. I think someone said Koepka spoke all of about 27 words in his interview after Thursday's round, where he shot, I don't know, 2 under or 4 under or something. Literally did not give the press anything. And then after he wins, he's actually quite candid. And he's like, yeah, you know what? I was in a pretty dark place mentally. I questioned whether I'd even come back. My knee just didn't feel right. Like the left knee just didn't feel as good as the right one. I was really in a dark place. And I just thought it was remarkable to see him kind of let the guard down a bit after he's won.
It's nice to see though, isn't it?
Yeah. I think he's a genuine guy when he does the media stuff. That's one of the major draws with Koepka. Another player like DJ as well, with the swagger that he brings. Just niggled along, didn't he? And then produced an incredible chip in, I think, on the is it the 16th set, the 17th hole?
Yeah.
Which there was probably one of the finest takes of the week, I think, from Rob Lee at that
Lee,
point.
I was gonna say.
Literally my hero. I mean, he's quickly becoming public enemy number one of this podcast. We could maybe think about introducing a section called
Rob Lee Corner.
We can call it Rob's Ramblings into the pod every week, whereby our listeners or ourselves find the latest bit of garbage that Rob Lee managed to put in. So I think to set the stage, he is 17 under par at this point. It is totally neck and neck in terms of the tournament because there's about 4 or 5 players on 17 under. No one's going lights out. Like 18 looks like the number to win. Very clearly, 18 is what they're going for. There's a few players on 16. It's really clutch. He then chips in. I think Andrew Coulthard's pretty on the money, and it's like, obvious stuff. Like that's a huge moment in this tournament. And when you saw that go in, I thought, yeah, there's no way he's not going to win now. Rob Lee just comes in from the sidelines, and they think about it, what that's going to do for his Aon risk reward averages. That's really going to help him through the season.
Oh,
you're like,
my
mate,
word,
what is wrong with you? Like someone in the production team has said to you, like 3 months ago, Rob, really important when we're doing the PGA, they do the Aon risk reward. This is how it works. It's quite important from an endorsement point of view that you have to talk about it when they're on that hole. So he's taken that literally and almost creating a commentary version of foie gras by just force feeding it down everyone's throats as much as they'll listen to it.
Have we got a clip of that, Mills?
There was one line that came before it, and I'll dig it out. I'm going to have to dig it out. There's one line that came before it, which was, it went in, and Andrew Coulthard's going, oh my God, it's going. And Rob Lee went, I wonder whether DJ winning this morning in Saudi has inspired him to do that. It's inspired him to go ahead and win this today.
Yeah, that was the next bit of tripe out of his mouth.
What are you talking about?
It's just out of practice, isn't he? I mean, those guys on the evening slots just aren't doing as much as perhaps they used to.
As the daytime boys.
Just some cringe-worthy comments, aren't there? I'm going to be honest, guys. Just call me off this. Get me to stand down if you think I'm fine.
Oh, here we go. Here comes Brandel Chambly version 2.0.
I just actually find like PGA Tour golf in the evenings to be a really shitty viewing experience on Sky Sports. Like, they're punctuated. They're punctuated by so many adverts. Like, you probably get 3 minutes of golf, and then there's another advert. There's an increasing number of betting adverts that are advocating responsible betting by Paddy Power and Betfred, and they're all just trying to virtue signal. It's like, this is just shocking. Like, we don't need any of that. And then you've got some absolutely dross takes from the likes of Rob Lee. It's just not. I'd watch it on mute, but even that doesn't get rid of the adverts.
I think the shift swap on the commentary team has put it under a microscope, hasn't it? In terms of the coverage, because we'll keep falling into this now, but it is better with Doherty, Radar doing the commentary. They're needed out in Saudi to keep that event spinning. They can't be in 2 places at once. So we've got Rob Lee there just talking about the bloody Aon risk reward every 15 seconds. It's pretty remarkable.
But you also get, because of I don't think we have it as bad as the US have it, but because they have so many ads, and obviously we are not committed to so many ad breaks, that you have like an inordinate amount of time just looking at scoreboards. Where obviously they just cut to a commercial out in America, and they just put a scoreboard up, and they just.
Anyway, I'm gonna cut us off at this point because I can't believe how far we're into the pod and we haven't even touched on Spieth yet. So this certainly needs covering.
This has to be the ultimate regression to the mean. Do we not think?
Oh God!
An outrageous
knew that was going to be pigeonholed in there, wasn't it?
An outrageous performance on the Saturday where he was just holing from everywhere. He was striping it, hitting it all over the flag.
Not 61, he hit 6 fairways. Like, put that in context.
Yeah. It's a good approach play, isn't it?
But prior, other than the last few holes where he did kind of get the rake out and start pouring them in from outside 20 feet, in a manner reminiscent of Spieth of old, he did actually, his approach play was pretty standout in that third round, though, wasn't it? I'm
pretty much
not
best
speaking out of turn there.
Best all week in the field. He was number one approach.
He was flagging it.
Start.
Yeah.
He just couldn't handle the big stick, could he? Pretty much all the tournament he was struggling.
He's always seemed like the long game is the one that creaks. Like everyone talks a lot about Spieth's putting, which is really good. But actually, when you look at his statistics, particularly 2015, around that era, his approach pro was where he was absolutely clinical. Bruce, as our sort of resident swing expert, I know Simon Holmes took a run at it. I don't know whether you want to do a retort on, Spieth's swing.
I'd love to.
Why
does
he seem brittle?
Take.
Yeah. Why does he seem? Well, he talked a little bit about sort of shifting off, shifting the balance more sort of behind the ball at takeaway, kind of gets kind of trapped coming through. He's clearly very brittle with the long game. Well, that's the weakness. What's there?
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't actually think his full swing is as bad technically as it perhaps looks to ordinary viewers, people who just look at it and think it's kind of a bit ugly and a bit awkward and there's a bit of a kind of chicken wingy left arm. But none of that is detrimental to the function of the swing. Like, I think he's kind of just overcomplicated it really over the last few years. And Saturday was obviously a kind of flash of his former brilliance. Interestingly, he hit the ball better in 2017 statistically, just didn't have the putts go that he had in 2015. And you also need luck, obviously, to win majors and win big events, which he didn't have as much of it in 2017 as he did in 2015. So, yeah, he's historically been a fairly solid iron player, very solid iron player. In fact, when he's played well, it's not just like he's holding putts from everywhere. But no, I mean, with Simon Holmes, I'd probably say, he's right that he does get a bit underplayed, a bit trapped. But you got to ask, why is that happening? And there's a decent amount of content out there from top level instructors who will say, well, Jordan Spieth's opening the face more on his takeaway, and trying to maybe get rid of the sort of shut face or de-lofted face look that he had previously at the top of his backswing. And I don't know why he's done that, because it functioned really well. And the result is that now he's got a more open face coming down. He's having to tilt back and get under plane and get stuck to try and buy time for him to roll that face and square it up, really, is how I would look at it. But these guys are all so good, and none of them, you could pick holes in everyone's swing at some level. I think the fact that he started working with Butch Harmon, who has got a whole catalogue of players who swing the club in a unique way, and he's such a brilliant, by the looks of things, he's such a brilliant coach to have in terms of putting an arm around your shoulder and just telling you you're good enough to go and win again. I think that's probably what's made the difference to Jordan this week. And hopefully he can just, take the final step at some point this year and go on and get a couple of wins, because he's obviously capable of it. He's just overcomplicated it, I think.
It was great to see him back playing well and having a good finish. I couldn't believe it. I think it's been something like 2.5 years since he shot 66 or lower in tournament play.
Really?
Which, put that in context. Like, these guys, and I mean, if you put them around an ordinary layout, it's probably a different thing. But most of them will post a 66. Some of them who are having a bad year might follow it up frequently with a 75 or whatever. But to not even get near that mark throughout 2.5 years for someone who was, right on the door of a, career Grand Slam is pretty remarkable, isn't it?
He was perilously close to dropping outside the top 100 of the world, wasn't he? I mean, he was down like in the 90s in the world rankings. So that's definitely given him a boost. And he doesn't seem like he's forgotten how to win. He just really needs to trust it for 4 rounds. He's just got some trust issues in his swing, I think.
But I found myself, I was openly never a Jordan Spieth fan when he was winning. Like, when he was on top of the world, I was like, just such a boring golfer, not interested. But I was really, 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 really rooting for him this weekend. I just really wanted him to come back. I wanted him to play well. I really, I think I just didn't like the PC approach, when he was like, so, gosh darn it, Jordan.
Darn it, Jordan.
It's just like a bit artificial and stuff. But the more I've kind of seen him, and to be fair, he's had a pretty open fall from grace for the whole world to see, and he's handled himself pretty well throughout the whole thing. And yeah, I really want to see him come back and win again. I'd love to see that. But speaking of winning again, obviously didn't win, but we have to have a moment for Steve Stricker.
Yeah.
What
pretty
a
serious stuff. When you...
I was watching The Dig on Netflix the other night, and call me out if this is a shocking comparison. Have you seen it? The Dig on Netflix. He looks very similar to Ralph Fiennes, doesn't he?
Okay, so that's the soundbite. It's going to be like Voldemort and Steve Stricker.
I was just like, wow, yeah, here we go. There's kind of, to use Doherty's phrase, he's in the twilight of his career, and well, he's well past it, in fact, isn't he, Steve Stricker? But he's just wedging it and putting like an absolute hero.
Okay, so here's where stats are an interesting one. 18 out of 18 greens on the final day for Steve Stricker.
They are massive, though. They are essentially the size of a football field. I'd back myself to do 18 greens in reg round there.
Brilliant. That's the soundbite pod there. Yeah.
Jesus. That's 100% green in reg on the final round. It was 95% green in regs on the third round. Now, everyone, if you listen to the commentary and took it at face value, everything they say about Steve Stricker is wrong, or was wrong on round 3 and 4. Because in round 3, he was minus 0.8 strokes gained putting. So he was a stroke worse than average. And in the final round, he was minus 1.5 strokes on the field. So he was 1.5 strokes worse than the field putting.
I apologize. I take my comment back.
And no, but the other one is they're constantly talking about how because Stricker was playing with Brooks, wasn't he? So, what Steve Stricker would give to be hitting Brooks tee shots? What do you reckon the yardage difference was on average in the final round between Stricker and Brooks Koepka?
30 yards. He hit a big one down at 18 with like a fairway wood. I saw. He didn't look like he was hitting it.
Stricker hit a big one. I don't think they've been used in the same sentence.
Mate, he put it. Well, to be fair, he was still getting it out there. He put it over the back of that green on the Aon risk reward hole, otherwise known as 17th at TPC Scottsdale. He didn't. I remember watching. I think he's still getting it out there a reasonable way. His average stats on tour 277.
Stricker's average drive in the last round 318 yards, 9 yards behind Brooks Koepka.
That is nuts.
I'll take that at 53 years of age, wouldn't you?
Yeah, okay, but in truth, you got to
That's
bear in mind.
incredible.
You got to bear in mind club selection, though, haven't you? Like, there's some holes where it has advantageous to lay back. Well, no, but if Koepka's hitting a 3-wood and they're both measured holes,
okay.
Yeah. But I
it's
mean,
not okay. It's just that is something to be borne in mind if the fairway's pinched in at. So if
I use PGA Tour ShotLink data, his average driving distance is 277. That compares with Brooks at 305. Okay, so 28 yards. It's not 100, is it? I mean, and they're pinned in by elements of the golf course to a certain extent, aren't they? He hit it well. Like I love the fact Bruce is just taking dead aim here at Stricker and sort of going, well,
53 years old.
Brooks is hitting 7-iron off the tee a lot of the way around there.
How much would you back? How much would you back it though if he picked himself for the Ryder Cup this year?
Punchy, it'd be pretty punchy, wouldn't it? Do you think that secured a spot for Brooks now in the Ryder Cup?
Brooks, you're out. Steve, I'm picking myself instead. I'm just going to do you. It would be so good. Yeah, it would be good fun. Well, is he going to pick, Captain Can't Finish with Xander?
Are we closing on Xander then? So just to recap, Xander, you got to think about, he's from an athletic family. His father's taught him the discipline of hard work.
You've got to clarify this. What were you talking about?
A fan of wine and fashion. Who is just the information that comes up on the overlay when they were teeing off. I think
we have a term for it, actually, Sam. We have a term for that and the Aon risk reward. It's just escaped me. This podcast. What can you remember what we call that kind of?
Before we do that, we'll escape. We'll just take a break to hear from our sponsors.
Very good. The
naked commercialism. What was really what I was after, but you didn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure it was naked commercialism. It was really essentially a compressed bio, but.
FedEx file.
We've got sidetracked here on some non-relevant information about Xander. No one went out and won it yesterday, with the exception of Brooks, who put in a pretty good performance on that back nine and obviously chipped him for eagle, which sealed the deal. Xander, who I think he'd shot something like 64, 66, 65, didn't even get close. He looked a bit of a shadow of his former self on those 3 days before. I thought it was a pretty disappointing showing with a 54-hole lead, and he didn't really have the most formidable opponents around him, did he? Because he must have thought Spieth's got a bit of mental chatter there that's going to probably get in his way, and Scheffler's on the way up. But again, Xander Schauffele is one of the best players in the world. Period. He didn't really look like piecing it together all day, if we're being honest. I thought it was just a bit of a weak showing on and he's starting to pick up a bit of a brand as a Tony Finau version 2.0.
Want a fun fact?
Always.
Do you know who beat Tony Finau in the playoff back at was it Sheshan Golf Club, the HSBC, the WGC event a few years ago?
Is it Xander Schauffele?
Hey, yeah, it was. It was indeed. So
there we go.
Yeah, I heard that Xander won the first playoff hole with a triple bogey, but I don't think any of them has a problem with a finish. No, I'm joking. I think we're giving Xander a bad rap. Really, obviously the mentality has to change when you've got a 54-hole lead. He wasn't the only one who was over par that day. I mean, obviously Spieth was as well. Scheffler was in that final group and probably didn't make the move that a lot of people expected of him. And a lot of people might just write him off as a rookie there and say, yeah, but he's not got the tour experience that a Xander Schauffele or a Tony Finau has. But you got to remember, like, Xander Schauffele won the Tour Championship in his first year on tour. He's won a WGC event. He's won a few more times. He's just, hasn't got a great record on closing 54-hole leads, but not many people do, in truth. I think that's the Tiger effect, really. We expect people to close it out if they're leading after 3 rounds. And how rare is it to see a wire-to-wire winner? It just doesn't really happen.
But what
Playing
I thought
with the steering wheel.
What I thought was noticeable watching Xander through the final round is he this is complete conjecture. We're in Rob Lee territory. They didn't seem to get the ball to the hole very often with chips or putts. He never really attacked the hole. It was all very like, I just want to get this in.
You're absolutely right, Mills. It is pure conjecture. But the overriding vibe was that I think that whole final group looked like they were playing with a steering wheel, to be fair. And, we can all speak from experience, tying it back to rank amateurs like myself. When you try and play golf with a steering wheel, it is a bloody difficult game. And
you can only play golf with an accelerator.
You can't, can you? Like, it's the worst. It's the worst thing to do.
That's true, though. That's true.
You've got to play aggressive if you're going to play well. You cannot. I've played matches where I've just tried to take the path of least resistance, and it almost always fails. So,
just a quick finish out. I mean, the waste management at Phoenix. They stuck to the branding. They still put up the stadium, even though there was basically nobody there.
Got 5,000 people in there, though. To be fair, so
in the whole
none.
2,000 in the stadium. What do you think about? Do you think those last 4 holes are some of the better last 4 holes on tour that they play? That par 5 15th, then the stadium 16th, par 3rd, drivable par 4, and then
par 3rd,
par 3. Then that relatively tough par 4 to finish. I think that's one of the better closing stretches on tour.
I think they look fairly similar.
You've become such an architecture buff, Sam Williams.
No, Tom's the one that's coming in there with woke architecture takes or woke architecture.
I just thought.
Do they provide drama? Yeah, they do. Absolutely, having a drivable par 4. I mean, a lot was made of Spieth running it through the back on 17 and just desperately shouting at his ball to sit, and
it was coming in at right angles to the green. To be fair,
it's like a pathetic fallacy, wasn't it, or a metaphor for his last few years on tour. It was just like
a slow motion ball dribbling into the pond.
Yeah. Wasn't that another Rob Lee moment where he was just like, "It's done that, Jordan, because you hooked it." And it's like, what?
Yeah, well, anyway. Let's knock it on the head with it. We've been speaking up, and there's plenty of time. Next week, we've only got the AT&T Pebble Beach to look forward to. Where, incidentally, since we were talking about prize money earlier on, if you win the AT&T Pebble Beach, you pick up pretty much the same amount as the entire purse for the Qatar Masters. There you go. So until then, chaps, it's been very, very interesting and very good fun chatting to you. And as always, you can get in touch with us on @CookieJarGolf. And until next time, bye-bye.
Adios.
Watch this.